Today we're going to take a look at the parable of the unjust judge and the persistent widow in Luke 18. In the opening verse of this chapter we read, "And he," meaning Jesus, "spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint." Now, of course, as so often in Scripture, Jesus isn't saying only men should pray. He's speaking of mankind. Jesus will demonstrate this as he goes on to tell the story of a persistent widow, a woman, clearly teaching that God hears everyone's prayer regardless of gender or class. So Jesus tells of a judge who doesn't fear God or regard man. A widow comes before him to be avenged of her adversary. The details of her plight are not given, so we know the emphasis of the story is that whatever the problem, she continually came before the judge to ask for his help. Jesus says the judge didn't regard her for a while, but then he gives in because he's annoyed by her constant request. And then Jesus says, "Hear what the unjust judge saith," not because he said anything godly or considerate of others, but because there is something for us to learn from his frustratingly granting the widow's request. Then in verses 7 and 8, Jesus says, "Shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily." Jesus' point is that if persistence can affect the decisions of a godless, uncaring judge, they most certainly move the heart of God, who patiently bears with us in our sin, and he moves to vindicate our cause. I've heard many sermon illustrations, and maybe you have too, of how our sin places us in a courtroom before the judge, guilty, and Jesus, our advocate, steps in to defend us. As believers, God's grace not only places us before a righteous judge, one very opposite from the one in the parable, but Jesus also stands alongside us, having paid the price for every accusation and every conviction against us. So don't stop praying, friends. God has your very best in mind. He hears, and he'll move to avenge and to restore in his time. It may seem like it's taking forever to see the change or receive the answer, but like the parable says, God bears long with us. He's not only working in the situation, he's working in us to prepare us for the outcome.